Hi everyone, welcome back to Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new Sacred Union Energy Update. If you're watching this on Patreon, you're getting the full reading and we'll have some subsequent updates going forward. If you're watching this on my main YouTube channel, we're having kind of like a preview since it's been a while since we've done a check-in. And again, check out the Patreon where we're moving most of our Sacred Union Energy Updates and Ascension Relationship Energy Updates over there going forward. Just whenever it feels pertinent, I'm going to be cross-posting or sharing here on YouTube as well, but I do want to move everything over to the Patreon, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so last week, for the full moon, I tried posting a Sacred Union Energy Update. I did the channeling. It was amazing as far as the energy that I was receiving, things that are shifting, and what's happening, especially between counterparts. You can take these readings as it resonates for a connection. It could be a connection that catalyzed you to your ascension journey. It could be a relationship that you are experiencing. It could be your inner masculine and inner feminine energies, or it could be for the global collective. Take it as it resonates for you. I recorded a full reading. It was like an hour long. It was really in depth. And then I discovered that my microphone wasn't working. And so we've got a new microphone. We're all set up. Make sure it is working. Yes, it's working. Okay, good. So we're all set up and we're good to go now. So before we dive into doing a reading to see what has shifted since the full moon, let's take a look at where we were. I did share some channelings, some written channelings, especially on Instagram. Make sure that you are following me, especially there. I try to cross-post wherever I can, but make sure you're checking all of my social media platforms for everything. So what we had channeled prior to the full moon was that we were getting two different energies from the same spread. So distinctly divine masculine, divine feminine energies. And that hadn't happened for quite a while. The energies had felt really merged recently, which was indicative of that union energy. But now it really feels like the counterparts are transmuting and holding space for each other energetically through their ascension cycles, and they might be at a little bit of a crossroads as far as what they're experiencing on your physical journeys. So as we've been channeling, there's a lot of different paths that are opening up now. For some, you are coming back into communication and reconciliation and even relationship for some with the person that you've been catalyzed to your ascension journey with, the person that has been your counterpart. For others, you might be meeting new counterpart connections. For others, even still, you might be going through a transformation with the person that you have been on your journey with the counterpart with, but it's not quite ready in the physical. So take it as it resonates for you. And as we always say, this is your journey too. Just keep letting it unfold. Just keep enjoying letting it unfold. Do your healing work. Do your inner work. And most importantly, just keep following your truth and keep following your path. Again, you can take this for your inner masculine and inner feminine. You can take it to better understand your counterpart connection. You can hold more compassion for each other, or you could take it for the global collective as well, because the planet's going through a planetary ascension. And when we speak about these counterparts, it's like the macro to the micro. You're experiencing this within a connection, but it is what's being experienced on the global scale as well. So I'm going to read what we had channeled for the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine prior to the full moon, and I'm going to share what we had channeled on the full moon, and then we're going to do a spread after the full moon. So for the Divine Masculine, we had, well, the cards were the Fool, the Nine of Cups, and the Ace of Cups, with the Hanged Man and the World at the bottom of the deck. And I said, I love that we have the World here from the bottom of the deck, because I was receiving an energy of closing out cycles as soon as I saw the Fool. I'm also getting an energy of forward momentum and having the courage to take that leap to complete or move away from whatever isn't serving them anymore. This could be something more tangible, such as a job or relationship, or it could be something more internal, such as a belief or a mindset, particularly as we have the Hanged Man showing up here as well. This masculine has been through several tower moments or dark nights, but with the advent of a new season and a new astrological year, there's a marked difference in the energy. The Fool feels like a breath of relief, one that both counterparts may be sharing, with a new sense of hope for the future now that they've made decisions and are taking action. This masculine has been learning to love himself on new levels, filling up his own cup rather than taking from others through a previous sense of entitlement. His perspective on the world and connection is beginning to shift as he realizes that the more love he has for himself, through himself, the more love he has and wants to share. For the divine feminine, similar to the divine masculine, this energy is all about renewal. However, for this divine feminine, she's feeling self-sufficient, happy, and full of love. Her cup is overflowing, which is granting her a newfound sense of confidence to move forward on her journey in a new energy or on a new path. She may not have a clear idea of what's unfolding as of yet, but there's a palpable energy of success and alignment as long as she's following her heart. So again, really beautiful energies coming in previous to the full moon. And then we channeled for the full moon. And I said, we're in the energy of the full moon in Libra. And for those with cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer, you may be feeling especially affected. And I personally have 3 of those in my top 3 signs. And man, I was feeling it. My emotions were really stable. I was feeling emotionally good, but I was tired. I felt like I just needed to sleep for 2 days. Man, I was really affected by it. So the full moon in Libra, particularly in Aries season, is all about harmonization that will transform your way of viewing and showing up in relationships. And I do want to add that we have an additional new moon and eclipse season coming up. I think it's this week. So eclipse season is like an accelerator. Eclipse season is like, you think the full moons and the new moons or something, it like accelerates all this movement and momentum and creates massive shift and massive change. And especially, I feel like this summer is going to be very indicative of a lot of growth and a lot of change. But it feels very positive. It doesn't feel heavy and it doesn't feel dense. I feel like we got through that heaviness and that denseness through the winter cycle, I feel like November through March felt very heavy and very dense, especially as we hit that new year, January through March. Those 3 months felt very heavy and we were clearing out a lot. And I feel like this full moon in Libra that just passed was really a lot of that final release. And I don't like to say final because it's never really final, but it was like a huge chunk. It was like a huge energy release that happened. And I feel like what comes on the heels of those energy releases is, of course, more light coming in. We had shared this in, I shared this in the Lion and the Lamb Sacred Channeling. If you've missed it, check it out over on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections, where we dive deeper into these topics. So the Lion and the Lamb was a sacred channeling where I shared that it's almost like you have a glass of water and your patterning, conditioning, your wounding, your trauma, the things that you experience as a human being in this world, it's like it muddies up the water and it darkens the water. Where you once had a crystal clear glass, that was you as your soul, now all that soul sludge, as I like to call it, muddies up the water. And so your job as a conscious being now, as you raise your consciousness, as you do your healing work, your shadow work, you're bringing it all to light. And so you're clearing out those waters again. You're clearing out that soul sludge, that dense, heavy energy. And so it's like you have that pitcher of water, another pitcher of water, clear water, and you keep pouring in love and faith and peace and harmony. That's what your healing work is. You're becoming aware of, oh, this is fear. I don't need fear anymore. Oh, this is anxiety. I don't need to operate in anxiety anymore. Oh, this is self-doubt. This is lack. This is scarcity. I don't have to operate in those modules anymore. And so as you clear that out, you pour in fresh water and all of a sudden the glass becomes clear again. That's in a nutshell what your ascension journey is. It's healing, but it's remembering the truth of who you are, that you're not that mud, you're not that soul sludge. And so as you clear out all of the old, it's not that you empty out, it's that you fill up on more light, you fill up on more love. And what you're doing is you are raising your frequency. So that your new bottom line, so to speak, your new base level vibration is peace, is compassion. Now, that's not to say that you don't feel doubt at times. It doesn't mean that you don't feel fear at times, but now you're aware of it. And so you can more consciously shift the pattern and keep shifting the pattern. And that becomes a process. That becomes like almost like a pattern in itself. Oh, okay, I'm aware of that doubt. How can I overcome that? How can I shift the pattern so that I can recognize it and I can have more faith in myself, or I can honor myself more, or I'm not going to abandon myself, but I'm going to love myself more. It's all about shifting perspectives and changing those patterns. And that's, in a nutshell, how you change yourself. So with the eclipse season, it does feel like there is going to be almost like an accelerated energy. I do want to mention I've been called to watch the collective 2023 year ahead reading, and it seems spot on. Everything that I channeled back in January does seem spot on for what we're experiencing collectively now. So that's over on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections as well. Okay, I said the full moon in Libra, particularly in Aries season, is all about harmonization that will transform your way of viewing and showing up in relationships. This energy is asking you to look at your relationships to see where they've been out of balance and what you need to release or shift in order to create the harmony your heart desires. Remember, while this is especially significant for your most intimate relationships, you have a relationship with everything, including your material world, your spiritual world, and yourself. And then for those in sacred partnerships, I did a kind of recap what that reading was about. And we said the divine masculine is experiencing change within his physical world. But rather than the resistance he may have had in the past, he's facing any obstacles, challenges, and blocks with courage, self-empowerment, and personal leadership. He's releasing old versions of himself and or aspects of his life as he looks towards a clearer future. As he gets to know himself on a deeper level, he's getting to know his heart and what he wants to create in this next level of his life. This energy is amazing and indicative of the conscious rising of the divine masculine. I gotta say, it was very sexy. It was very nice, this energy. Just to have that leadership energy, the directness, the boldness, but with a sense of tenderness and honoring from the divine masculine. It was very nice energy. It was very take charge energy that was very nice to feel from the divine masculine. And a lot of that was coming from their own self-love. It wasn't from a place of control. It wasn't from a place of manipulation. It was coming from a place of self-love. What do I want to create for my life? And I don't want to hold myself back, and I want to recognize where I'm feeling held back and make that conscious change. It was a very conscious energy, very healing energy from the divine masculine. It was very, very nice. And then we channeled for the divine feminine, and I shared is everyone's favorite word, patience. However, this energy is telling us divine feminine has been patient on her journey as she learns valuable lessons in trust, intuition, and her own self-empowerment. She's been in a bit of a transition period, but a new doorway has opened up for her, and she's creating from a place of embodiment of her own powerful energy. She's recognizing that she's powerful too, and there's nothing to be afraid of or hold herself back from that power. Where other people might have suppressed her in the past, where she might have suppressed her own power because, when you're shining and when you're feeling confident, people who aren't loving themselves, they don't like that. They try to hold you back and they try to hold you down. But again, this power isn't about control and it's not about manipulation. It's about your own self-honoring. It's about your own self-leadership. That's where you're recognizing your own personal power. And there's something really beautiful about that. Expect forward momentum in her physical world from the full moon onwards. So yes, physical momentum has been the key here, I feel like, for both counterparts, and especially with eclipses, and that's where that accelerated motion is all about. I do want to mention too that we've been channeling the wild feminine energy. Some might call it the dark feminine energy. But the dark feminine energy is just embracing all sides of yourself. The feminine energy isn't just soft and pliable. She is strong. She is courageous. She is fierce in her own right, a warrior in her own right, to match the masculine's warrior mode energy as well. So we are going to be channeling, I've been channeling a lot about that lately, so we are going to be doing a sacred channeling on the wild feminine, probably in the next couple of weeks. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. Make sure you're following me over on my sister channel, Susan Dawn Ascension Connections. Kelly Ma's been coming in with that energy. And interestingly enough, Mary Magdalene as well. So we're going to be channeling with those two about the wild feminine. What does it mean to be that wild feminine, and embracing that aspect of yourself? So we're going to be looking into that as well. And then finally, we channeled the union energies. And I asked, could you see the mirroring happening between the two? There was a bit of a void-like energy in the union space, but as we have been channeling for the past few weeks, it's in the silence and the stillness that you find your answers. It's here where you connect deeper within yourself, and here where you connect deeper with God. Here where you connect on the bridge of the heart. This is where your creation begins. In this space, both counterparts, or the balance of your inner masculine and inner feminine energies, are integrating their lessons and experiences and trusting the path in a new energy with a new vision. The void is where the rebirth takes place. So, okay, that being said, let's do a deep dive. Let's see what's going on. I'm going to use the moon decks to look a little bit into what has shifted since this full moon in Libra. We're going to look at the current energies, but knowing that this is post full moon, we're going to look at how is this energy shifted. So we're going to get a card for the Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine, and Union. Divine Masculine, please. Let's get a card for the Divine Masculine. Current energy for the Masculine. Current energy for the Divine Masculine. Self-love. That is what it is all about. That's exactly what I was saying, that it really feels like the masculine is stepping up into their own self-love. And there's an honoring of the feminine here as well. I'm just going to channel here for a moment on the masculine. This is the card that had come out in that full moon reading, Change. And I loved the power of this energy. I'm really happy that this card came out at the bottom of the deck for the masculine here, because this is what is changing. This is what we have been experiencing. This masculine is seeing themselves differently. They're looking in the mirror, and rather than any shame, remorse, or guilt that had really held them back, it's like this is what we had channeled. It's like this was their old version of self that kept kind of pummeling them, almost like a wrecking ball that kept coming in and creating havoc in their own life. But it's like once they rose in this energy of self-love, once they allow themselves to be aware, oh, okay, I can see that this has been my pattern, or this has been my habit, or this has been my behavior, and this is how I have played a part in the creation of my own life, that my lack of own value, my lack of self-worth has played a part in this. And this energy here, do you see how strong the energy is? How it's just like this lightning bolt of energy, this fiery energy. It's like with this Aries season, in conjunction with Libra, being this energy of harmony and love, self-love, it really feels like they're like, no, they're pushing against, they're not resisting their life anymore. They're not resisting this change anymore. What they're resisting is the old versions of themselves coming in and kind of like knocking them off course again. This is an energy of accountability. This is an energy of self-responsibility. When I say this feels really good, like I'm getting it in my solar plexus, it feels amazing. This is very different energy for the Divine Masculine than we've channeled in the past. Very transformative. And it's because they are recognizing the need, is what I'm hearing, the need to love themselves. And again, it's this energy of honoring the feminine as well. I feel like they're shifting their perspective of the feminine energy. This could be their feminine counterpart, or this could be just overall feminines in their lives, where they had seen how feminines in their lives had impacted their view of females or feminine energy as a whole. And so now there's this new conscious awakening that's happening for them, and they're seeing how that affected the feminine energy within them. Because remember, you have both energies within you. You might identify as a core masculine or a core feminine, but you have both energies within you. That's your own inner union. That's your own inner balance. And so they're recognizing how that affected how they viewed themselves, and how they had suppressed their own feminine energy, how they had moved even into their own wounded feminine energy, where they didn't allow themselves to express themselves. They didn't allow themselves to have emotions. They didn't allow themselves to have deep connection to themselves, which didn't allow them to have deep connection with others. So when you suppress the feminine energy within you, the masculine energy is naturally suppressed as well. And so as they're honoring the masculine energy, or I'm sorry, the feminine energy, the masculine energy within them, that is their natural core essence, is rising. It's really this beautiful energy here. And again, it's like this ball right here that you can kind of see at the edge of the picture is their past version of themselves that had just been knocking them down and knocking them down and knocking them down and knocking them back. And it might have looked like constant cycles of regression. But now they're like, no, this is take charge energy. No, I'm going to make a difference in my life. I'm going to take this and move myself forward. I don't want to repeat the past. I don't want to stay stuck in the energy I was in. And I see that now. And so it's like they're releasing those past versions of themselves, resisting past versions of themselves, but not resisting as in there's an energy of surrender here as well. It's like I can acknowledge my past version of self. I can acknowledge and take accountability and be responsible for that creation of my life and how it manifested in my life. And because I'm taking accountability, because I'm being responsible for that past version, I know that I can make a conscious change. And I'm getting the feminine energy here as well. The feminine energy catalyzed this masculine and challenged this masculine to really look inside of themselves, to really encourage them to make this change. And they had been in resistance to this change, but now that they're loving themselves more, and now that they're healing the feminine aspect, they're just seeing everything, including themselves, much differently. This is amazing energy. Can't wait to dive deeper into this. Let's see what's going on for the feminine. Divine feminine energy. Where's the divine feminine? Where's the divine feminine post full moon in this current energy? We have beginnings and we have hunger. The card, it was everybody's favorite word. It was patience. And I like that we have resilience at the bottom of the deck, because I feel like this is almost like a quality of the divine feminine, that resiliency. She has been through it on her journey. Not that the masculine hasn't, but you've both been on it in very different ways, but also mirroring each other. This journey is a wild ride. But I feel like for the divine feminine, she's had to be patient. She's had to be resilient for all of the ups and downs and twists and turns and plot twists that this journey kind of throws her way. It's been very interesting for the divine feminine. And so here it's interesting. We have the card hunger and we have beginnings. And it's like, that's what she's been feeling. The hunger energy is like this sense of anticipation. It's like she could feel this energy. And we've channeled that a couple of months ago, where it was this anticipation. She could feel that union energy. She could feel the changes in her life. She could feel the changes in herself and her own energy. And she knew that this beginning, she was right on the precipice of this new beginning. She just didn't know what it was. In essence, in many ways, she was shielded. And what they're bringing forth is an energy of protected. She was protected, especially as the masculine was going through his dark nights of the soul and tower moments. She was very much protected, but she was also shielded because she needed to learn trust, is what they're saying. She needed to learn trust within herself. And that's where that patience came in. She needed to learn trust with the universe and herself for this to unfold, for it all to unfold. To trust in the journey, even through plot twists and turns and ups and downs. To trust in herself and be honoring of herself. I feel like the past year or so, and let me know if this resonates with you guys, I feel like the past year or so was really about embodiment for the divine feminine. Has she been applying all of the lessons that she's been learning? She's been learning how to honor herself and not abandon herself, not to reject herself, not to betray herself. She's been learning to step more into her own personal empowerment. She's been learning to love herself on the deepest level. She's been learning to connect with God on the deepest level. She's been learning to not be in the energy of people pleasing, not be in the energy of sacrificing herself. She's learned the energy of balance. She's learned how to walk that middle path, and that's all about embodiment. And so I feel like we had been in a little bit of a transition. Last year we channeled a couple of channelings called Journey's End. You can do searches here and on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections for that. Journey's End, I think we have part 1, part 2 in a reading, where there was a significant phase of the journey that was ending. The pain of the journey was ending. Those major triggers of the journey was ending, because you were learning how to embody all of those lessons. And I feel like up until now, there has been a huge transition period where you've been putting that into practice, and now it's like you're right on the precipice. There's this new beginning, and some of you actually might be experiencing the physical manifestation of those changes. This could be job changes, this could be travel, this could be career, relocation, this could be new connections, soul family, relationships, whatever this is. There's a lot of changes that are coming in because you're in a new energy. So your world has to naturally reflect that new energy. The old life that you were living, as within, so without, your energy dictates your reality. So the old energy, the old life that you were living was based on a former energy that you were in. A former version of yourself had created that life. And now that you're in a new energy, you are creating essentially a new life. Now, it doesn't have to be such blatant changes or significant changes. It could be small things, like maybe you get a promotion for a better job, or you renegotiate a salary, or maybe you have better connections and more harmonious relationships. Whatever this is. Doesn't have to be such a blatant example of change, but it's changed nonetheless, because your physical reality is going to now reflect the energy that you hold within. And so with the hunger energy, it's like I'm just getting this energy of she's craving this because she's in a new energy. She's anticipating these changes. She's feeling these changes. She is ready for these changes. She is ready for that quantum leap here. Beautiful. All right, let's get a union energy. And I want to say, too, that this energy is reflected in the masculine. It's mirroring the masculine. The masculine is beginning their embodiment. They're consciously aware of the desire and need for self-love and learning to love themselves, and they're making those conscious changes. And so they're beginning that level of embodiment. And their world is going to naturally change and reflect that. And remember, the masculine does it double time. Like they do it sped up, because they're very grounded to the earth plane. They're very connected to the earth plane in the material world. And so the feminine, she might have taken some time to go through this process. The feminine energy leads the connection. The feminine energy leads the ascension journey, essentially, in the energy. The masculine energy grounds that in the physical form, so it's almost like accelerated for them. They go through an accelerated ascension so that you two are walking side by side. Understand, too, that it's just ego that makes you think that one is higher or lower than the other. There is no hierarchy when it comes to connection. None. There is no hierarchy. That's just ego. And that's what needs to be looked at. It's when we're talking about leads the connection, you both lead in different ways. The feminine energy leads energetically, the masculine energy leads in the physical world. We gave this analogy in the Lion and the Lamb channeling, where it was like the feminine dreams of a house. And, she shares what that dream is. She has the intuition of a house. She has the idea of a house. She has the expression of a house. And the masculine energy actually grounds in the physical form and builds the house, or finds the house, or whatever. That's just an analogy for the difference in energies. And you can apply this to your own inner masculine and inner feminine. For example, the best example that I can give is if you have an idea for a business. Well, the idea, the creativity of it, the expression, the imagination of it is the feminine energy, while the putting it into practice and actually putting it into physical form. Maybe you need to get the LLC. Maybe you need to get the products. Maybe you need to find the storefront. Whatever that is, that's your masculine energy. That's your feminine, masculine working together. And in partnership, in relationship, that's what it's about. It's about working in harmony together. Now, in relationship, in the 3D world, as a core masculine and a core feminine, you're not always going to be in your core masculine or your core feminine, right? Especially in connection. Sometimes you're going to hold that space for each other. I gave an example a couple of weeks ago about a time when I saw someone that I dearly, dearly love, a masculine, just breaking down and crying, and his wife holding space for him. That was the feminine acting in her masculine, holding space for the masculine, being able to express his own emotions within his feminine context. Does that make sense? So you can hold space for each other, but again, you go back to the core masculine or core feminine energies. It's where you feel most natural. Do you feel more naturally inclined to trust your intuition, follow your intuition? Do you feel more naturally inclined to receiving versus giving? Do you feel more naturally inclined to just kind of wanting to relax? A lot of feminines, especially, were in their over masculinated energy because they didn't feel safe to be in their divine feminine energy. And so that led to a lot of burnout, that led to a lot of exhaustion, but especially in the presence of a masculine who's able to take action and take charge and take leadership. Again, not in a controlling way. They're not overpowering the feminine. They're not forcing her to submit or asking her to submit. They are inviting her to surrender. And when the feminine feels safe in the masculine presence, that's when she can surrender. And it feels good to surrender because that trust is there. So I feel like there's a lot of mirroring that's happening here, and it all feels like it's aligning. So divine feminine, you might be here, divine masculine. When I say catching up, it's not that they're behind. It's that they do their ascension second, and they do it very, very quickly. They go through their ascension process very, very quickly. All right, what's going on in the union energies between the two? We have darkness, and what's very interesting is we had the void energy during that full moon reading, and that's what this feels like as well. You might not be able to see how the path is illuminated. You might not be able to see beyond that next corner, but that's where you have to trust and have faith that everything is in alignment. In the void, where the void was, that reading, we talked about the stillness, we talked about the silence, and we talked about that in the sacred channeling called the sacred breath, and how when you are in that silence, when you're in that seeming void, that void is actually an opportunity for you to connect further with yourself and further in your heart space. And I'm also hearing further with each other within that heart space even. So the darkness, remember, it doesn't stay dark for long. And it's not a true darkness. There's still light. What I'm getting shown is how white is the absence of color. Black is it's all colors. That's what this feels like. It feels like there is everything here. It's not a void and it's not darkness. There is everything here. It's just you have to trust what is being shown to you. You have to trust the path. Because what's on the bottom of the deck? We have abundance and we have creation. This is your creation. This is what you are creating. And again, just like we channeled in that other reading, it's like this, in that void, in that stillness, it's an opportunity for you to say, what is it that you want to create? What is it that you want for that next step forward? And it's almost like what I'm getting is it's not all revealed to you because you're still creating it. Because you're going through this ascension cycle, you're still creating it. What is it that you want to choose? What is it that you want to create? Who is it that you want to be? As you move forward into these new beginnings, into these changes, into more self-love, more personal empowerment, into this next cycle of your life. Who is it that you want to be and what is it that you want to create? It's here in this moment that you get to make those choices, that you get to decide, that you get to create.